In the late 19th century, Americans believed danger lurked in dark alleys, saloons, and city streets. Few imagined it could hide behind a quiet farmhouse, a friendly smile, and a newspaper advertisement. This is the story of the Belle Gunness murder farm. Between the 1880s and 1908, Belle Gunness, a Norwegian immigrant living in LaPorte, Indiana, became one of the most prolific and mysterious serial killers in American history. On the surface, she appeared respectable, a hard-working widow, a devoted mother, a woman who managed her own farm with confidence and strength. Belle was known as physically imposing, strong, broad-shouldered, and capable. Neighbors noted her skill in hog butchering, a task that required precision, strength, and familiarity with blood and bone. Twice widowed, Belle turned to newspapers to rebuild her life. She placed personal advertisements in Midwestern Norwegian language papers, targeting immigrant communities where trust traveled faster than warnings. One ad read, "Personal, comely widow who owns a large farm in one of the finest districts in LaPorte County, Indiana, desires to make the acquaintance of gentlemen equally well provided, with view of joining fortunes. No replies by letter, considered unless sender is willing to follow answer with personal visit. Triflers need not apply." The message was clear. She wasn't looking for a romance alone, she was looking for resources. In letters to potential suitors, Belle described her farm as picturesque, a peaceful place, almost a utopia. But she also emphasized something else: money. In one letter to a man named Carl Peterson of Wisconsin, Belle wrote that she had received as many as 50 responses to her ad. "I've picked out the most respectable," she told him, "and I've decided that yours is such." Then came the condition. "If you think that you are able in some way to put up $1,000 cash," she wrote, "we can talk matters over personally." One by one, men arrived at the farm. They came carrying savings, deeds, insurance papers, and trust. Most were never seen again. Investigators later concluded that Belle followed a pattern. She separated her suitors from their money, property, and insurance first, and then from their lives. Victims were poisoned, bludgeoned, stabbed, sometimes with whatever was close at hand. In at least one case, a hairpin. Their bodies were dismembered, arms and legs removed at the joints, heads severed. Some remains were buried shallowly in the pig pen or beneath sheds. Others were moved, reburied, or placed where animals could reach them. Bones showed signs of disturbance, suggesting bodies were uncovered and hidden again. Belle's methods varied. Her crimes were opportunistic, brutal, and efficient. By the spring of 1908, the illusion began to collapse. In April, Belle visited her attorney to draft a will. She wept. She said she feared she did not have long to live. The very next day, her farmhouse burned to the ground. When police arrived, they made a horrifying discovery. Inside the ruins were the bodies of 3 children, and a 4th body, an adult woman, headless. Authorities initially identified the remains as Belle herself, but almost immediately, doubts emerged. The body was smaller than Belle, and the lack of a head made definitive identification impossible. Then came the digging. As word spread, relatives of missing men arrived in LaPorte. One of them was Assel Helgeline, the brother of Andrew Helgeline, one of Belle's suitors. He told police he believed his brother had met with foul play. Searches began across the property. Dozens of men dug into the soft earth, and then they found one body, then another and another. What emerged was not a farm. It was a graveyard. At least a dozen victims were uncovered in the days following the fire. Some estimates placed the number far higher, 20, 30, even 40 victims. Identification was nearly impossible. Bodies were dismembered. Some graves contained remains from multiple victims. Strangers from faraway states had vanished without witnesses. There was no crime scene preservation, no forensic standards. A makeshift morgue was set up in a barn, unguarded. Spectators wandered freely. Some even took grisly souvenirs. Newspapers exploded with coverage. Belle was given names that bordered on myth: the LaPorte Ghoul, the Indiana Ogress, the female Bluebeard, Hell's Princess, Queen of Crime. Her property became known nationwide as the Murder Farm. Railroads ran special excursions to LaPorte. As many as 15,000 people arrived in a single day. Food stands lined the road, selling what they grotesquely called Gunness stew. It was spectacle. It was horror. It was headlines. Authorities arrested Belle's hired hand, Ray Lamphere. Lamphere had been infatuated with Belle and increasingly unstable. After she rejected him, he threatened her repeatedly. Police subjected him to intense interrogation. He admitted passing the house on the morning of the fire and seeing smoke, but said he feared reporting it would make him a suspect. Lamphere was convicted of arson and sent to prison. There, dying of tuberculosis, he made a deathbed confession. He claimed he had helped Belle escape, that the burned female body belonged to Belle's housekeeper, that he had set the fire, and that he had driven Belle to the train station. After that, Belle Gunness vanished. Sightings were reported for decades across the Midwest, in California, in Mississippi, as late as 1931. Irresponsible newspaper reporting fueled the confusion, printing speculation as fact. Officially, Belle died in the fire. Unofficially, the mystery never settled. In 2008, 100 years later, a forensic team from the University of Indianapolis exhumed the remains buried in Belle's coffin. Led by forensic anthropologist Stephen Naraki, the team hoped DNA comparisons using a letter Belle had written might finally answer the question: did she die, or did she disappear? The results added more questions than answers. Today, historians agree on one thing: the investigation was deeply flawed. The crime scene was compromised, and much was lost to time. What remains is a chilling legacy. A woman who exploited trust, who weaponized respectability, and who turned the American dream, land marriage, opportunity into a killing ground. More than a century later, the Belle Gunness murder farm remains one of the most sensational crime stories ever printed in American newspapers. And the question still lingers. Did Hell's princess burn with her secrets? Or did she walk away, unseen? This has been Headlines from History.